Hello everyone, this is ToD giving you Game 2 in a series between ToD and Complexity's Catz, or Millennium's ToD and Complexity's Catz, here on Shakuras Plateau. This is going to be a very interesting game. You can see ToD spawning on the bottom right-hand side of the map as the blue Protoss player. Meanwhile, on the top left-hand side of the map, a full cross-spawn here on Shakuras Plateau. We have Complexity's Catz, so it is going to be ToD versus Catz once again, Shakuras Plateau, and I'm curious as to how these players will play out this particular matchup. Now, I have heard it said in the past that Shakuras Plateau is a map that normally favors Protoss, even though there is a very easy to take natural second base. That third base is a little bit more difficult to take as a Zerg player. There is that base also here, but you end up building towards your opponent, so two-base play does normally favor Protoss rather than Zerg. Terran can also run off of two bases very well. Catz may be forced to try to set up a macro hatch here before setting up his third base. And perhaps ToD will be able to easily take his third base as well, since there is a little bit more of a division on the map this time around. Taking a look in the ToD's build order so far, nothing too out of the ordinary. Pylon on the low ground. He is attempting to get a very strong economy going, as we are now going to see this Overlord slowly make its way across the map in order to do some scouting. Meanwhile, Catz opening up with pool double gas. Wow, okay, no. Pool double gas. So this is a very early spawning pool, and wow, he may actually punish ToD. ToD is going to be in a bit of trouble. The probe now going to wander around on the inside of the base, sees the spawning pool already, and this is a 12/10, and now those Zerglings already coming into play. This is a 12/10 rush. A very early pool coming in, and this is going to be very difficult to stop. 9 drones versus 14 probes, as that probe now tries to wander all the way home. It looks like, yes, the gateways are already warping in. A photon cannon needs to be added in. There you go, and the early Zerglings are not going to be able to deal that much damage at all, as 2 additional gateways or 2 gateways are warping in. And finally, we see Catz getting up that earlier queen, and now going to be able to start power droning as well. The Photon, or the Forge, is going to be taking a bit of damage. It looks like it is already down to 400, 300 hit points. Is it going to be able to clear up in time? That is going to be the key question. Another Forge could be placed down here. The Photon Cannon is now complete. Is it going to be enough? 1 Zergling down, 2 Zerglings down, 3 Zerglings down, and now another building added in, and they're canceled. So 3 Zerglings, 75 minerals. That 1 photon cannon has been canceled there, as a Nexus wants to be built as quickly as possible, and I do not believe the Zerglings actually did enough damage. As you can see, the overall income 500 versus 520 right now. A stronger economy for Protoss, or at least it should be, as there is this as a Nexus now warping in as well. A hatchery will be built over here. That drone, yeah, there you go, finally building up that additional hatchery. And now with the queen should be able to just start spawning larvae and getting up a very strong economy, as Catz will be able to train somewhere in the realm of, I believe, 10 drones per minute. A Forge now once again being rebuilt. A Zergling sitting on the ramp, destroyed there, as a Nexus now coming in as well. You can see a lot of just chrono boosting ToD, trying to make sure he doesn't fall behind in the economic game. It is very easy to fall behind in the economic game, as you can see that Catz just continuing to spawn larvae. His production now going into more Zerglings. A little bit curious as to why he's going to Zerglings at this stage. I guess he does see the Nexus, so I would have suspected that he would have tried to power drone, and getting 6 more Zerglings at this stage in the game is not going to really help him out all too much. More drones now still being added. Another Overlord being trained up as well. Perhaps another 2 Overlords need to be trained. Otherwise, Catz is just going to continue to be supply blocked for quite some time, as the Zerglings are now trying to deny scouting. ToD is going to spot this hatchery over here, and down goes that Zergling. They're unable to get back up to the top ground, as a proxy pylon was set up by ToD. He will be able to warp in Zealots over here in order to get some Zealots and perhaps run them into the mineral line and deal some damage. The probes are still being trained. Another photon cannon being added. The cybernetics core now finishing. As soon as it finished, I assume warp gate will be started. Perhaps even a chrono boost on there in order to increase the production value as well. or decrease the production time as well. Overlords are positioning themselves in order to make sure that absolutely no drop play is possible coming in from his opponent. You can also see back over here that Warp Gate has one round of Chrono Boost. We may get another Chrono Boost, and now also getting the level 1 weapons upgrade. So the Zealots will be coming out and will be able to slice through those Zerglings rather quickly. A Zergling now going to try to test the waters. This is not going to be good at all. A Zealot now trying to meet those Zerglings. The Zerglings now deciding to run back instead, as we are getting a Roach Warren as well. So the Roach Warren now being added, an Overlord in the air, spots the additional gateways. It is going to be 7 gateways in total, meaning a lot of damage can be dealt. Complexity as Catz now sitting at 39 drones. I mean, now training up another 3 drones, so we'll be up to 43 now in just a moment. And as we are now sitting at 40 drones compared to 34, all ToD can do is just double train probes off of 2 Nexuses and perhaps Chrono boosted for a bit more. More pylons now being warped in. Catz does not know about this one proxy pylon all the way on the far side of the map on the high ground there. As we can see, pylons galore, and now I believe the Warp Gate research will complete in just a moment, and ToD can very easily catch up. He's sitting at 46 over 68. He should be able to warp in some sentries, some stalkers, and some zealots in just a moment. As you can see, all of these gateways now upgrading into Warp Gates. It looks like it is going to be an 8-gate push. So this is the last gateway there. A round of units now warping in. We may get even more, as well as a lot of Zealots now making their way into the field. Level 1's weapon upgrades have been completed. The Zerglings are not going to be able to surround all too easily, as the Zerglings are really not quite sure where they can engage, trying to get some damage onto those sentries. The sentries, however, unable to do so. And activating the Xel'Naga Tower in order to reveal the Overlord. Nice play by ToD, as ToD now finishes that level 1 weapons upgrade. Roach is now also being researched, or researching that burrow as well, in addition to Glio Reconstitution. So this is going to be very interesting, as the Roaches will have movement speed and also be able to burrow to regenerate those hit points very, very quickly. Now sitting at 77 over 92, or 83 over 92 now, as we are going to have an engagement. Roaches are trying to finish off those Zealots. The Zealots don't really stand much of a chance. Very, very low hit point Zealots need to back off. I believe they overstayed their welcome just a little bit too long, getting shot in the back a couple of times. There are a couple of Zerglings at the Xel'Naga Tower as well, keeping track of all the army movements of ToD. ToD now trying to play it a little bit more safe and figuring out what his opponent is going to be transitioning into. The Forge will get destroyed, as the Stalkers need to have a way to get back inside the base. There he goes. Zealots and Stalkers are now back inside the base behind the cover protection of these photon cannons, as we are now going into Tunneling Claws as well. Tunneling Claws, Roaches able to heal 10 hit points a second. A lot of damage to be had, as the Roaches are still wandering about, as the third base now being added as well. Both players don't want to overcommit. Both players just trying to calculate. It looks like Catz is going to be going to the same exact strategy that he used in the first battle, using Infestors along with Roaches in order to deal battle, and that does promise to work out well, as those Roaches are now trying to push in. I don't believe it's going to work out, as there is enough Stalkers and Sentries to perhaps split up that army, and then the Zealots can deal that damage there. Zerglings are now getting poked apart. There goes one Zergling, another Zergling. There's the Force Fields, trying to make it so that those Roaches are split. Those Roaches are taking a bit of damage. A nice burrow by Catz, saving those lead Roaches. And now another Zealot has been destroyed. Both sides continuing to fight their way through. No Observer just quite yet. The Observer is up here on that high ground now, and perhaps going to keep track of all of these units, as those Roaches deciding to now back off, as they don't want to engage. Taking a look at the army, 56 army sizes. We have 2,000 versus 2,700, almost 3,000. So ToD definitely does have the advantage, as the Roaches are able to spot the high ground and take down that pylon rather quickly. A Zealot will get destroyed, and it looks like those Roaches are not going to give chase to that Zealot. Zealot sitting at 97 hit points will just be able to sit back and relax over here on the far side of the base once more. Perhaps an Observer going to be in position, as Overlords now being used simply for creep spread. probes now being transferred off to that low ground, as well as an all-important third base for ToD. Meanwhile, we can already see an all-important fourth base for Catz. So Catz now will be able to run off of 4 bases, and perhaps he will be able to just simply act macro and A move with that rather large and impressive army. Stalkers do not yet have Blink. Blink is now being researched about 1/3 of the way done, or more than 1/3 of the way done, as the Infestors are now looking for an engagement, but they're not going to find one here. So ToD now being the one that's cold and calculating and trying to pick and use his fights. He wants to be able to put down some pressure so that his opponent isn't running off of 70 drones, as ToD does have a slight economic lead with 9 drones. A Zealot now wandering away. It's inside here. It looks like one drone will get taken down. Another drone may get taken down, so that drone was definitely worth its cost there, as it's now trying to fight back against a Queen. I think it could have taken down perhaps another drone and really traded resources much better. There are a decent number of Infestors. Neuroparasite is not being researched yet. Level 2 weapons upgrade now being added. Carapace upgrades being added as well. So the those roaches are now, I believe, or should be upgraded 1/1 in just a moment, as the armor upgrades have been or will be completing. Catz also having a macro hatch, as well as ToD now setting up a proxy pylon in the middle of the field in order to warp in units. Zerglings and roaches coming in to engage, but those roaches not going to be able to survive, and now able to finish off the rest of those 2 units there, as that observer is still keeping track of the army, and perhaps Catz knows that an observer is nearby and will respond and start reacting accordingly. He cannot blindly burrow those roaches with an observer nearby, as a burrowed roach with an observer is essentially a dead roach. You can now see the movements are, the units are making a movement out throughout the center. Roaches now overextending themselves. More roaches will get destroyed. Are those roaches going to continue to battle it? More roaches, more force fields down, as the Infestors are trying to get off of fungal growth. It looks like they are going to be successful, as the roaches are just going to continue to push and move their way forward. ToD still has plenty of hit points on his immortals, a lot of shields which can be absorbed, as that immortal is able to just do a lot of pop shot damage, as now a Queen now coming in to join in on the fight. And I think Complexity just completely caught off guard, or Catz completely caught off guard on what ToD was trying to do. ToD able to, no, not blinking away this time around. Stalkers once again going to re-engage, and it looks like Complexity is going to take the upper hand. Just being able to force blinks out of ToD. ToD does not want to engage with this much pressure. And now as he's returning home, not chasing after this immortal. So that immortal really lucking out there in the large fight. There are a couple infested Terrans as well. Those infested Terrans going to get destroyed rather quickly, but no real loss there, as infested Terrans don't give experience at all. This isn't Warcraft 3. Immortal now engaging against the rest of these Zerglings. Roaches now battling it out as well. More force fields coming in. And I believe, those infested Terrans are just going to get destroyed in a matter of seconds. This hatchery up on the high ground needs to be destroyed. Not quite sure what ToD is waiting for. Perhaps just trying to dwindle this army. 0-1 upgrades, 2-1 upgrades coming in for the roaches. 1-1 upgrades coming in for the Zerglings, as we already have 2-0 upgrades on those Colossi. So the Colossi should be able to perhaps just simply walk in and burst down the hatchery before the units can really make it over. Roaches are now trying to engage once more. Zerglings being forced to pull back. The Immortals, knowing that they can't really catch up to a Zergling, picks and chooses its fights, and now decides that that fight is not worth fighting for. A Zealot now making its way off to the north. He pretty much sees absolutely nothing. The Zerglings are going to try to engage, but the Zealot will be able to two-shot any of those Zerglings if he doesn't get killed first. And now we see a counter push coming in here. So more and more units are getting destroyed. Fungal growth should be coming in. There's one force field, another force field, and all of these Infestors are just getting caught on the wrong side of the force field. Are those Stalkers going to blink? Yes, they are going to blink, forcing those roaches to try to do something. And it looks like this Immortal just turning the tides. Once again, another Mortal turning the tides, as the Stalkers unable to do anything against those Immortals. And now those Immortals are finally, the cooldown has been released, and the Immortal gets destroyed once more. Zerglings and Infestors once again joining in, and it looks like Cool Catz is simply just going to be able to walk over his opponent ToD now, as he is the one with the larger army, and unless he makes some grave and critical mistake. Infested Marines now getting destroyed once again. Infestors going down. Zerglings now trying to chase down the rest of the Stalkers. The Stalkers do move slower, so those Zerglings are able to catch up and deal damage, even though they are melee, as the Infestors are now getting destroyed. So 2 Infestors already destroyed. More Stalkers now warping in, 2,300 versus 1,000. And this is not looking good at all. ToD is definitely in trouble. Infested Terrans all over the place. No AoE to really deal with those Infested Terrans. And those Infested Terrans just going to simply walk through that army, and there's the GG by ToD. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I still have one more game to cast in this set, so please stay tuned.